How is it going, folks? It's already been a few weeks since my top 10 newcomers video. Time has been flying by, and in that time, Nintendo has announced 3 more Echo Fighters, being Dark Samus, Chrom, and Richter Belmont. Add in Daisy and we're up to 4 new Echo Fighters already, and I'm sure there's even more on the way. But before Sakurai decides to drop more news on us, I decided to finally make my list of most wanted Echo Fighters. This was harder to make than I thought, because majority of these characters I could see having an original moveset. So enough chatter, let's just jump right into it. These are my top 10 most wanted Echo Fighters, going from the bottom to the top, ending it off with the one I'd like to see the most. Starting off my list is Akuma from Street Fighter. Now that we have Richter, it's clear that third-party characters are not out of the question when it comes to Echo Fighters. I know a lot of people want Ken, but I'd personally prefer Akuma. The way I see it, more villains is never a bad thing, and Akuma would be a nice pick. He's popular with fans, and it wouldn't be his first rodeo when it comes to being in a crossover game. I imagine him as being a glass cannon. He could deal more damage than Ryu, but be a lot easier to knock out. And as for his final smash, they could just base it off one of his super moves from Street Fighter. We've seen previously with Dark Pit that final smashes for Echo Fighters don't have to be identical to the character they're based on, so that can leave a little bit of originality to be seen. I would love to see a new Star Fox character added, and since we already have Crystal as an assist trophy, maybe we could get a different character as an Echo Fighter. If I had to pick, I would go with Slippy Toad. We've recently seen with Chrom that Echoes can have moves pulled from more than just one character. The way I imagine Slippy is him having moves pulled from all 3 current Star Fox reps, like Wolf's up smash, Fox's forward smash, and Falco's down special. Basically just being a mix of all 3 characters. If he did get in, he'd definitely be my go-to Star Fox rep. It would be the ultimate troll character, hopefully having some very annoying taunts. I'd like to one day see all members of the Star Fox team playable in Smash Bros., but I know this is one that's very unlikely. I was super hyped when Pac-Man was announced for Smash 4. I always wished that Miss Pac-Man would have been a costume for him, but now that Echo Fighters are a big thing, maybe she has a fighting chance. I imagine her being a more nimble version of Pac-Man, having a higher movement speed and quicker attacks. If she's not an Echo Fighter, I hope we can at least get her as an alt costume for Pac-Man someday. It makes too much sense, so why not? We already have Pikachu and Pichu, but what about Raichu? I've wanted Raichu in Smash Bros. For a long time. I know it seems highly unlikely since we already have Pichu, who's very similar to Pikachu, and we have Alolan Raichu as part of the Pokeball item, but hey, I can still hope. I imagine Raichu as a heavier and harder hitting version of Pikachu. If Raichu did get in, it would definitely be my go-to electric type. Zelda looks fantastic in Smash Bros. Ultimate. I love her redesign based on her old school look. I am always welcoming of new Zelda characters to join the roster, and I think Hilda would be a great choice as an Echo of Zelda. It would be a good representation of the handheld side of the Zelda series, coming from one of my personal favorites, A Link Between Worlds. They could change some of the effects of the attacks to fit more with the character, but other than that, she would fit the moveset of Zelda very well, I think. One of the most requested Echo Fighters is without a doubt Shadow. I would love to see a new character or 2 from the Sonic series to join, and Shadow would make perfect sense as an Echo of Sonic. They would definitely have to alter a few of his animations though, particularly the running animation. But we've already seen with current Echo Fighters that the animations and effects don't have to be an identical match to the character they're based on. Shadow could be a slightly slower and more powerful version of Sonic. His final smash could be Chaos Control, or they could go the easier route and just make it Super Shadow. I do think Shadow has a pretty high chance. We haven't even seen his assist trophy yet. We do, however, have a Knuckles assist trophy, which makes me think even more that Shadow has moved up in his Smash Bros. Status from assist trophy to being a playable character. I absolutely love the Bayonetta series. I was beyond stoked when Bayonetta actually made it in as a playable character in Smash 4. Jeanne would be a perfect fit as an Echo Fighter of Bayonetta. Even in the games she's from, she's capable of all the same attacks Bayonetta does. To be true to the games, she could be a stronger version of Bayonetta, but much, much easier to knock out. She could be the ultimate glass cannon. It would also be cool if they gave the option to play as her designs from both Bayonetta games, much like how Bayonetta has both of her costumes. I know Bayonetta gets a lot of hate in the Smash Bros. Scene, but I don't care. I love the character, I love the games, and I think Jeanne would be awesome to see as a second rep for the series. Especially now that Bayonetta is pretty much an exclusive series for Nintendo. Man, I cannot wait for Bayonetta 3. F-Zero is very much a dead series at this point, but I'd still like to see a new rep join the roster, and I think Black Shadow would be a solid choice. He would be another villain to add into the lineup, and wouldn't look weird being an echo of Captain Falcon. They could just change some of the effects of his attacks to be different colored flames or something, and instead of his neutral B being a Falcon punch, the flames of the punch could be in the shape of a bull, in reference to his vehicle, the Black Bull. It's sad that Captain Falcon is the only character from the original 12 to still only have one rep from their series. Sure, I know Yoshi is considered to be from his own separate series, but he's still very much a Mario character to me. I would really like to see another F-Zero character join the roster, and if they have to take the Echo Fighter route to do it, I won't complain. I'd take pretty much any character from the Mega Man series, but as far as Echo Fighters go, Proto Man is the only one that I could really see working. I do think Proto Man has more than enough potential to be his own fighter, but he could also work as an Echo Fighter of Mega Man. The only change I'd like to see is him hold up his shield during his jumping animation, even if it doesn't have any real effect on the gameplay. I know that Proto Man appears during Mega Man's final smash now, but they could just make it so that if someone is currently playing as Proto Man, then he just won't appear during that animation. I just really want another rep from the Mega Man series. I don't care who it is. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening, but I'll try to remain optimistic. Splatoon is the hottest new IP Nintendo has, and I think it's deserving of more than just one rep. And Octoling would be perfect as an Echo Fighter of the Inkling. They could even reskin some of the weapons to base them on some of the alternate weapons from Splatoon, like giving the roller a different look than the one the Inkling uses. And of course they'd need to include a bunch of different outfits to make them just as stylish as the Inklings. Their final smash could be something based on Splatoon 2, like the Tenta missiles. This character would be a smart move with the Octo expansion being so recent. I know it might seem crazy because of how recent that DLC was, and how recent Splatoon 2 was in general, but I don't think it's out of the question. I've been surprised by many aspects of Smash Bros. Ultimate so far, so I'm not going to rule anything out. But if they aren't in the base roster, I'd love to see Octolings join as DLC. Then again, Octolings were in the first Splatoon game as well, so maybe it's not quite as far-fetched as it might sound to some. Anyway, that's my list. Like I said at the start, this list really wasn't easy to make. There are some characters like Funky Kong and Nintendo that I've seen people talk about, but they just wouldn't rank highly for me personally. But to be completely honest, I'm mostly indifferent when it comes to Echo Fighters. I don't dislike them, but I also don't think too hard about which ones I'd like the most, with the exception being the Octolings. And Dark Samus, but she's already been announced. Echo Fighters are a neat way to make more characters playable, without having to put in the insane amount of time it takes to make a character with an original moveset. Some might say it's lazy, but I say it's fan service. Were we ever going to get Chrom or Dark Samus any other way? Probably not, so it's best to settle for what we get and be grateful they're in there at all. And when you factor in that every character who has ever been in the series is returning, it's clear the Smash team had their work cut out for them. I'm excited to see what echoes we get next, and regardless of who it is, I'll just be glad they're finally being given the chance to duke it out with some of the best characters in the video game industry. So how about you all? What Echo Fighters do you want to see? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you later.